New King James Version. This is the book of Job, chapter 1. Job and his family in Uz. There was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job, and that man was blameless and upright, and one who feared God and shunned evil. And seven sons and 3 daughters were born to him. Also, his possessions were 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of ox, 500 female donkeys, and a very large household, so that the man was the greatest of all the people of the East. And his sons would go and feast in their house, each of his appointed day, and would set and invite their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them. So it was, when that day of feasting had run their course, then Job would send and sanctify them, and he would rise early in the morning and offer burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, "It may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts." Thus Job did regularly. Satan attacks Job's character. Now there was a day when the Son of God had come to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also come among them. And the Lord said to Satan, "From where do you come?" So Satan answered the Lord and said, "From going to and fro from the earth, and from walking back and forth on it." Then the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on earth, a blameless and upright man, one who fears God and shuns evil?" So Satan answered the Lord and said, "Does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not made a hedge around him, around his household, and around all he has, and on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. But now stretch out your hand and touch all that he has, and he will surely curse you to your face." And the Lord said to Satan, "Behold, all that he has is in your power, only do not lay a hand on his person." So Satan went out before the presence of the Lord. Job loses his property and children. Now there was a day when his sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house, and a messenger came to Job and said, "The oxen were plowing and the donkeys feeding beside them. Then the Siberians raided them and took them away. Indeed, they had killed the servant with the edge of the sword, and I alone escaped to tell you." While he had still speaking, another also came and said, "The fire of God fell from heaven and burnt up the sheep and the servant and consumed them, and I alone have escaped to tell you." While he had still speaking, another also came and said, "The Chaldeans from 3 bands raided the camels and took them away. Yes, and killed the servant with the edge of the sword, and I alone have escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another also came and said, Your sons and your daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house, and suddenly a great wind came from across the wilderness and struck the four corners of the house, and it fell on the young people, and they were dead, and I alone have escaped to tell you. Then Job rose, tore his robe, and shaved his head, and he fell on the ground and worshipped, and said, Naked I have come from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return there. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In this Job did not sin nor charge God with wrong. Chapter 2. Satan attacks Job's health. Again, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them to present himself before the Lord. And the Lord said to Satan, From where do you come? Satan answered. The Lord said, Satan answered, and the Lord said, From going to and fro from the earth, and from walking back and forth on it. Then the Lord said to Satan, Have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man, one who feared God and shunned evil, and still he holds fast to his integrity, although you entice me against him. It's INCITED me against him, to destroy him without cause. So Satan answered the Lord and said, Skin for skin, yes, all that a man has will give for his life, but stretch out your hand now and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will surely curse you to your face. And the Lord said to Satan, Behold, he is in your hands, but spare his life. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord and struck Job with painful boils from the soles of his foot to the crown of his head. And he took for himself a potsherd with which to scrape himself while he sat in the midst of the ashes. Then his wife said to him, Do you still hold fast to your integrity? Curse God and die. But he said to her, You speak as one of foolishness. Woman speaks. Shall we indeed accept good from God? And shall we not accept adversity? In all this Job did not sin with his lips. Job's 3 friends. Now, when Job's 3 friends heard of all this adversity that had come upon him, each one came from his own place. Eleazar the Temanite, Bildad the Shunammite, and Zophar the Naamorite. For they had made an appointment together to come and mourn with him, and to comfort him. And then they raised their eyes from afar and did not recognize him. They lifted their voice and wept, and each one tore his robe and sprinkled dust on his head toward heaven. So they sat down with him on the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and no one spoke a word to him, for they saw that his grief was very great. Job deplores his birth. Chapter 3. After this, Job opened his mouth and said, "Curse the day of his birth." And Job spoke and said, "May the Lord perish on which I had born." Wait, I'm going to read that again. May the Lord perish on which I have born, and the night in which it was said, "A male child is conceived." May that day be darkened. May God above not seek it, nor the light shine upon it. May darkness and the shadow of death claim it. May a cloud settle onto it. May the blackness of the day terrify it. As for that night, may darkness seize it. May it not rejoice among the days of the years, and may it not come into the numbers of the months. Oh, may that night be barren. May no joyful shout come upon it. May those curse it who curse the day, those who are ready to arouse Lebanon, arouse Lebanon, Arouse, Leviathan. May the stars of the morning be darkened. May it look for light, but have none, and not see the dawning of the day, because it did not shut up the doors of my mother's womb, nor hides shadow from my eyes. Why did I die? Why did I not die at birth? Why did I not perish when I came from the womb? Why did the knees receive me, or why the breasts that I should nurse? For now I would have lain still and been quiet. I would have been asleep. Then I would have had been at rest with kings and counselors of all the earth, who built ruins from themselves, or with princes who had gold, who filled their houses with silver. Or why was I not hidden like a stillborn child, like infants who never saw light? There the wicked chase from troubling, and there the weary, and there the weary are at rest. There the prisoners rest together. They do not hear the voice of the oppressor. The small and the great are there, and the servant is there from their master. Servant is there from his master. Why is light given to him who is in misery, and life to the bitter of soul, who long for death, but it does not come, and search for it more than hidden treasures, who rejoice exceedingly, and are glad when they can find the grave? Why is light given to the man whose way is hidden, and whom God has hedged in? For my sighing comes before I eat, and my groaning pour out like water. For the thing I've greatly feared had come upon me, and what I dread has happened to me. I am not at ease, nor am I quiet. I have no rest, for trouble comes. Chapter 4. Eleazar, Job has sinned. Then Eleazar the Temanite answered and said, if one attempts a word with you, will you become weary? But who can withhold himself and speak? Surely you have introduced many. Surely you have instructed many, and you have strengthened weak hands. Your words have upheld him who is stumbling, and you have strengthened the feeble knees. But now it has come upon you, and you are weary. It touches you, and you are troubled. Is it not your reverence, your confidence, and the integrity of your ways, your hope? Remember now, whoever perishes being innocent, or where were the upright ever cut off? Or were the upright ever cut off? Even as I have seen those who plow iniquity and sow trouble reaping of the same. But the blasts of God they perish, and the breath of his anger they are consumed. The roaring of the lion, the voice of the fierce lion, and the teeth of the young lion are broken. The old lion pierces for lack of prey, and the cub of the lions are scattered. Now a word was secretly brought to me, and my ear received a whisper of it in disquieting thoughts for the vision of the night. When deep sleep falls on men, fear comes upon me, and trembling which made all my bones shake. Then a spirit passes before my face. The hairs on the body stood up. It stood still, but I could not discern its appearance. A form was before my eyes. There was silence. Then I heard a voice saying, "Can a mortal be more righteous than God? Can a man be more pure than the Maker? If he puts on trust in his servants, if he charges his angels with error, how much more those who dwell in house of clay, whose foundation is in the dust, who are crushed before a moth. They are broken in pieces from the morning till evening. They pierce forever with no one regarding. Does not their own excellence go away? They die, even without wisdom." Chapter 5. Eleazar, Job is chastened by God. Call out now. Is there anyone who will answer you? And to which of the holy ones will you turn? For wrath kills a foolish man, and envy slays a simple one. I have seen the fool take root, but suddenly I have cursed his dwelling place. His sons are far from safety. They are cursed in the gate, and there is no deliverer. Because of the hungry eat up his harvest. Take it even from the thorn, and a snare snatches their substance. For affliction does not come from the dust, nor does trouble spring forth the ground. Yet man is born to trouble, as the sparks fly upward. But as for me, I would seek God, and To God I would commend my case, who does great things and unsearchable, marvelous things without number. He gives ruin on the earth. He gives rain on the earth and sees water on the field. He sets on high those who are lowly, and those who mourn are lifted safely. He frustrates the device of the crafty, so that their hands cannot carry out their plans. He catches the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the cunning comes quickly upon them. They meet with darkness into the daytime. They meet with darkness in the daytime, and grope at noontime, as in the night. But he saves the needy from the sword, from the mouth of the mighty, and from their hand, so that the poor have hope. And injustice shut her mouth. Behold, happy is the man whom God corrects. Therefore do not despise the chastising of the Almighty, for he buries, but he binds up. He bounds, but his hands make whole. He shall deliver you in the 6 troubles. Yes, in the 7th no evil shall touch you. In famine he shall redeem you from death, and in war from the power of sword. You shall be hidden from the scourge of the tongue, and you shall not be afraid for destruction when it comes. You shall laugh at destruction and famine, and you shall not be afraid of the beasts of the earth, for you shall have a covenant with the stones of the field. And the beasts of the field shall be at peace with you, and you shall know that your tent is in peace. You shall visit your dwelling and find nothing missing, nothing amiss. You shall also know that your descendants shall be many, and your offspring like the grass of the earth. You shall come to the grave at a full age, as a sheaf again rippling in its season. Behold, this we have searched out. It is true. Fear it and know for yourself. Job chapter 6. My complaint is just. Then Job answered and said, Oh, that my grief were fully weighed, and my calamity laid with it on the scales, for then it would be heavier than the sand of the sea. Therefore my words have been rash, for the arrow of the Almighty are within me. My spirit drink in the poison. The tares of God are arrayed against me. Does the wild donkey bray, then it has grass? Or does the ox low over the fodder? Can flavorous food be eaten without salt? Or is there any taste to the white of an egg? My soul refuses to touch them. They are as loathsome food to me. Oh, that I might have my request, that God would grant me the thing that I long for, that it would please God to crush me, that he would loose his hand and cut me off. Then I would still have comfort, though in anguish I would exult. He will not spare. For I have not concealed the words of the Holy One. What strength do I have that I should hope? And what is my end that I should prolong my life? Is my strength the strength of stones, or is my flesh bronze? Is my help not within me, and is success driven from me? To him who is afflicted, kindness should be shown by his friend, even though he forsakes the fear of the Almighty. My brothers have dealt deceitfully like a brook, like the streams of the like a stream of the brooks that pass away, which are dark because of the ice, and into which the snow vanishes when it is warm. They cause to flow, then it is hot, they vanish from their place. The paths of their ways turn aside, they go nowhere and perish. The caverns of Tema look, the travelers of Sheba hope for them. They are disappointed because they were comforted. They were disappointed because they were confined. They came there and are confused. For now you are nothing. You see terror and are afraid. Did I ever say, bring something to me? Or offer a bribe for me, for your wealth? Or deliver me from the enemy's hand? Or redeem me from the hand of the oppressor? Teach me, and I will hold my tongue. Cause me to understand wherein I have erred. How forceful are right words, but what does your arguing prove? What does your arguing prove? Do you not intend to rebuke my words and the speeches of a desperate one, which are as wind? Yes, you overwhelm the fatherless, and you undermine your friend. Now, therefore, be pleased to look at me, for I would neither lie to your face. Yield now, and let there be no injustice. Yes, concede, my righteous still stand. It is their injustice on my tongue. Cannot my taste discern the unsavory? Chapter 7. Job, my suffering is comfortless. Is there not a time or a hand serving from man on earth? Are not his days also like the days of a hired man, like a servant who earnestly desires the shade, and like a hired man who eagerly look for his wages? So I have been allotted months of futility, and wearisome nights have been appointed to me. When I lie down, I say, when I shall arise, and the night be ended, for I have had my fill of tossing till dawn. My flesh is caked with worms and dust. My skin is cracked and breaks out a flesh. My days are swifter than a weaver's shuttle. and are spent without hope. Oh, remember that my life is a breath. My eyes will never again see good. My eyes of him who sees me will see me no more. While your eyes are upon me, I shall no longer be. As the cold disappears and vanishes away, so he who goes down to the grave does not come up. He shall never return to his house, nor shall his place know him any more. Therefore I will not restrain my mouth. I will speak in the anguish of my spirit. I will complain in the bitterness of my soul. And I am a sea, or a sea serpent, that you set a guard over me. Then I say, my bed will comfort me, my couch will ease my complaint. Then you scare me with dreams and terrify me with visions, so that my soul chooses strangling and death rather than my body. I loathe my life. I will not live forever. Leave me alone. For my days are but a breath. That is man. What is man? That you should exalt him. That you should set your heart onto him. That you should visit his every morning and test him every moment. How long will you not look away from me and let me alone till I swallow my saliva? Have I sinned? What have I done to you, O watcher of men? Why have you set me as your target, so that I am a burden to myself? Why then do you not pardon my transgression and take away my iniquities? For now I will lie down into the dust, and you will seek me diligently, but I will no longer be. Chapter 8. Bildad, Job's shout, repent. Then Bildad the Shunammite answered and said, how long will you speak these things, and the words of your mouth be like strong wind? Does God observe judgment, or does the Almighty pervert justice? Is your sons have sinned against him? He has casted them away from their transgressions. If you would earnestly seek God and make your supplication to the Almighty, if you were pure and upright, surely now he would awake for you and prosper your righteous dwellings in place. Though your beginning was small, yet your latter end would increase abundantly. For iniquities please for the former age, and consider these things discovered by their fathers. For we were born yesterday, and now nothing, because our days on earth are a shadow. Will they not teach you and tell you and utter words from their hearts? Can the papyrus, Papyrus, grow up without marsh? Can the reeds flourish without water? While it is yet green and not cut down, it withers before another plant. So are the paths of all who forgot God, and the hope of the hypocrite shall perish, whose confidence shall be cut off, and whose trust in the spider's web. He leads on his house, but it does not stand. He holds it fast, but it does not endure. He grows green in the sun, and his branches spread out in his garden. His rods wrap around the rock of heaps and look for a place in the stones. If he is destroyed from this place, then it will deny him, saying, I have not seen you. Behold, this is the joy of his way, and out of the earth others will grow. Behold, God will not cast away the blameless, nor will he uphold the evildoers. He will yet fill their mouths with laughing, and your lips with rejoicing. Those who hate you will be clothed with shame, and the dwelling place of the wicked will come to nothing. Chapter 9. Job, there is no mediator. Then Job answered and said, Truly I know it is so, but how can a man be righteous before God? If one wishes to contend with him, he would not answer him. One time, without of 1,000, God is wise in his heart and mighty in strength, who has hardened himself against him and prospered. He removes the mountains, and they do not know. Then he overturns them into his anger, and he shakes the earth out of its place, and its pillars tremble. He commands the sun, and it does not rise. He seals off the stars. He alone spreads out the heavens and treads on the waves of the sea. He made the bear, the Orion, and the Pleiades, and the chambers of the south. He does great things past finding out, yes, wonders without numbers. If he goes by me and I do not see him, if he moves past and I do not perceive him, if he takes away, who can hinder him? Who can say to him, What are you doing? What are you doing? God will not withdraw his anger. The allies of the proud lie prostrate beneath him. How then can I answer him and choose my words to reason with him? For though I were righteous, I could not answer him. I would beg mercy for my judge, if I call and he answers me, and I would not believe that he was listening to my voice. For he curses me with tempests and multiplies my wounds without cause. He will not allow me to catch my breath, but fills me with bitterness. If it is a matter of strength, indeed, he is strong, if of justice, who will appoint my days in court? Though I were righteous, my own mouth would condemn me. Though I were blameless, it would prove my perverse. I am blameless, yet I do not know myself. I despise myself. It is all one thing. Therefore I say, he destroys the blameless and the wicked. If the scourge slay suddenly, he laughs at the plight of the innocent. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covers the face of its judges. It is not he. Who else could it be? Now my days are swift than a runner. They flee away. They see no good. They pass by like swift ships, like an eagle swooping on its prey. If I say I will forget my complaint, I will put off my sad face and wear a smile. I am afraid for all my suffering. I know that you will not hold me innocent. If I am commanded, why then do I labor in vain? If I wash myself with snow water and cleanse my hands with soap, yet you will plunge me into the pit, and my own clothes will harbor me. For he is not a man as I am, that I may answer him, and that we should go to court together. Nor is there any meditator, nor is there any mediator between us, who may lay his hands onto us both. Let him take his rod away from me, and do not let dread of his terrify me. Then I should speak and not fear him, but it is not so within me. Chapter 10. Job, I would plead with God. My soul loathes my life, and I have given free courses. I will give free courses to my complaint. I will speak in the bitterness of my soul. I will say to God, do not condemn me. Let me read this again. That's chapter 10. If I didn't say it, it's chapter 10, Job. I would plead with God. My soul loathes my life, and I will give free curse to my complaint. I will speak in bitterness of my soul, and I will say to God, do not condemn me. Show me. Why would you contend with me? Does it seem good for you that you should oppress, that you should despise the work of your hands, and smile unto the counsel of the wicked? Do you have eyes of flesh, or do you see as man sees? As your days like the days of the mortal man are, your years like the days of mighty men? That you should seek for my iniquity and search out my sin, although you know that I am not wicked, and there is no one who can deliver from your hand. Your hands have made me and fastened me and unnitty. I don't know this word. It's unity, unti, and indicated unto, yet you would destroy me. Remember, I pray, that you have made me like clay, and will you turn me into dust again? Did you not pour me out like milk, and cuddle me like cheese, clothe me with skin of flesh, and knit me together with bones and sinews? Sinews. You have granted me life and favor, and your care has preserved my spirit. And these things you have hidden your heart. I know that this was with you. If I sin, then you make me. If I sin, then you mark me, and will not equip me for my iniquity. If I am wicked, woe to me. Even if I am righteous, I cannot lift up my head. I am full of disgrace. See my misery. If my head is exalted, you hunt me like a fierce lion, and again you show yourself awesome against me. You renew your righteousness against me, and increase your indignation towards me. Charges and war are ever with me. Why then have you brought me out of the womb? Oh, that I had perished, and no eye had seen me. I would have been as though I have not been. I would have been carried from the womb of the grave. Are not my days few? Chase and leave me alone, that I may take a little comfort before I go into the place from which I shall not return, to the land of darkness and to the shadow of death, a land as dark as darkness itself, as the shadow of death, without order, where even the light is like darkness. Zophar, Argres, Job to repent. Zophar, Agravites, Job to repent. Chapter 11. Then Zophar the Nimonite and Sword answered and said, Should not the multitudes of the words be answered, and should a man full of talk be vindicated? Should your enemies talk and make men hold their places? And when you mock, should not one rebuke you? For you have said, My doctrine is pure, and I am clean in your eyes. But oh, that God would speak and open his lips against you, that he would show you the secrets of wisdom, for they would double your prudence. Know therefore that God accepts from you less than your iniquities deserves. Can you search out the deep thing of God? Can you find out the limits of the Almighty? They are higher than the heavens. What can you do? Deeper than Shalom. What can you know? Their measures is longer than the earth, and broader than the sea. If he has passed by in prisons, If he has passed by, imprisoned, and gathered the judgments, then who can hinder him? For he knows deceitful men, and he sees wickedness also. He will not then consider it. For an empty-headed man will be wise than a wild donkey colt is born as a man. If you would prepare your heart and stretch out your hand towards him, if iniquities were in your hand and you put it far away, and would not let wickedness dwell in your tent, then surely you would lift up your face without spot. Yes, you would be steadfast and not fear, because you would forget your misery and remember it as water that have passed away. And your life would be brighter than noonday, though you were darkened, and you would be like the morning, and you would be secure because there is hope. Yes, you would be dig around you and take your rest in safety. You would also lie down, and no one would have you afraid. Yes, many would court your favor, but the eyes of the wicked will fall, and they shall not escape, and their hope loss of life. The answer of his critics. Then Job answered and said, no doubt you are the people, and the wisdom will die with you. But I have understood as well as you, and I am not inferior to you. Indeed, who does not know such things as these? And I am one mocked by his friends, who called on God, and he answered him, the just and blameless, who is ridiculed. A lamp is despised in the thought of one who is at ease. It is made ready for those whose feet slip. The tent of robbers prosper, and those who provoke God are scorned. And God provoked by his hand. But now ask the breasts, and they will teach you, and the birds of the air, and they will tell you, or speak to the earth, and it will teach you, and in the fish and in the sea, and it will explain to you. Who among all this does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this, in whose hand is the life of every living thing, and in the breath of the mankind? Does not the ear test words, and the mouth test the food? Wisdom is with aged men, and the length of days understanding. With him are wisdom and strength. He has counsel and understanding. If he breaks a thing down, it cannot be rebuilt. If he imprison a man, there can be no release. If he withholds the waters, they dry up. If he seeds them out, they overwhelm the earth. With him are strength and prudence. The deceived and the deceiver are his. The leads counselors away plunder, and make fools of the judgment. He looses the bound of the kings, and the binding of their waist with a belt. He leads princes away plundered, and overthrown the mighty. He deprives the trust one of each, and takes away the discernment of the elders. He poured contempt on the princes, and disarms the mighty. He uncovers deep things out of darkness, and brings the shadow of death to light. He makes nations great and destroys them. He enlarges nations and guides them. He takes away the understanding of the chief of the people of the earth, and makes them wander in a pathless wilderness. They grope in the dark without light, and he makes them stagger like a drunken man. Chapter 13. Behold, my eyes have seen all this, my ears have heard and understood it. That you know, I also know, and I am not inferior to you, but I would speak to the Almighty and desire to reason with God. But for you, forgers of lies, you are all worthless hypocrites. Oh, that you would be silent, and it would be your wisdom. Now hear my reasoning, and heed the pleading of my lips. With you speaking wickedly to God, for God, and talk deceitfully for him. With you show partiality to him. Will you contend for God? Will you be well? Then he searches you out. Or can you mock him? As one mocks a man, he will surely rebuke you. If you secretly show partiality, will not his excellence make you afraid? And the dread of him fall upon you. Your platitudes, platitudes, are proverbs of ashes. Your defense are defenses of clay. Hold your peace within me, and let me speak, and then let come on to me, that may. Why do I take my flesh into my teeth, and put my life in my hands? Though he slays me, yet will I trust him. Even so I will defend my own way before him. He also shall be my salvation for a hypocrite's. For 13:4, that last word was not hypocrite, it was physicians, so I apologize. Okay, so back to 16. He also shall be my salvation, for a hypocrite could not come before him. Listen carefully to my speech and to my declaration with your ears. See now, and I have prepared my case, and I know that I shall be vindicated. Who is he who will contend with me? If now I hold my tongue, I perish. Job, disappointed prayer. Job's disappointed prayer. Oh my gosh, this is so much reading. Job's pointed prayer. Oh, two things, only two things, do not do to me, then I will not hide myself from you. Withdraw your hand far from me, and let the dread of you make me afraid. Then call and I will answer, or let me speak, then you respond to me. How many are my iniquities and sins? Make me known my transgression and my sin. Why do you hide your face and regret me? Why do you hide your face and regard me as your enemy? Will you frighten a leaf driven to and fro? And will you pursue and dry stubble for your write bitter things against me, and make me inherit the iniquities of my youth? You put my feet in the stocks and watch closely all my paths. You set a limit for the soles of my feet. Man declare like a rotten thing, like a garment that is moth-eaten. Chapter 14. Man who is born of woman is of few days and full of trouble. He has come forth like the flower and fades away. He flees like a shadow and does not continue. And do you open your eyes on such a one, and bring me to judgment with yourself? Who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean thing? No one. Since his days are determined, the numbers of his mouth is with you. The numbers of his month is with you. You have appointed his limits so that he cannot pass. Look away for him that he must rest till like a hired man he finishes his day. For there is hope for a tree. If it is cut down, what if it is cut down, that is well spored out against. If it is cut down, what will sprout out again? And what is tender, shouts will not chase. Though it rot, may grow old into the earth, and its stumbles may die into the ground, yet at the scent of water it will bud and bring forth branches like a plant. But man dies and is laid away. Indeed, he breathes his last, and there is he, as water disappears from the sea, and rivers become, the reproach dries up. So man lies down and does not rise till the heavens are no more. They will not awake nor be raised from the sleep. Oh, that you would hide me into the grave, that you would conceal me until your wrath is past, that you would appoint me a set time and remember me. If a man dies, shall he live again? All the days of his hand serve, and I will await. Till man changes come, you shall call, and I will answer you. You shall desire the work of your hands, for now you number my steps, but do not watch over my sins. My transgressions it sealed up in a bag, and you've covered my iniquities. But as a mountain falls and crumbles away, and as a rock is moved from its place, as water wearies also stones, and as torrent, torrent, washes away the souls of the earth, so you destroy the hope of men. You prevail forever against him, and he passes on. You change his countenance and send him away. His sons come to honor, and he does not know it. They are brought low, and he does not preserve it. But his flesh will be in pain over it, and his souls will mourn over it. 15. Eleazar accuses Job of folly. Then Eleazar the Tabonite answered and said, should a wise man answer with empathy, knowledge? Should a wise man answer with empty knowledge, and a fool himself with the east winds? Should he reason with unprofitable talk, or by speeches with which he can do no good? Yes, you cast off fear and restrain prayer before God, for your iniquities teaches your mouth, and you choose the tongue of the clay. Your own mouth condemns you, and not I. Yes, your own lips testify against you. Are you the first man who was born, or were you made before the hills? What have you heard? The counsel of God. Do you limit wisdom to yourself? What do you know that we do not know? What do you understand that is not us? Both the gray hairs and the age are among us. Most older than your fathers are the consolation of God too small for you, and the word spoken gently with you. Why does your heart carry you away, and what do your eyes think at what you turn your spirit against God, and lest such words go out to your mouth? What is a man that he could be pure, and he who is born of a woman that he could be righteous, if God put no trust in him, in his saints, and the heavens are not pure in his sight? How much less man who is abominable and filthy, who drinks iniquity like water? I will tell you, hear me, that I have seen, and I will declare what wise men have told, not hiding anything, receiving from their fathers, to whom alone the land was given, and no alien passing among them. The wicked man writhes, writhes, with pain all of his days, and into the numbers of the years is hidden from the oppressor. Dreadful sounds are in his ears. In prosperity the destroyer comes upon him. He does not believe that He will return from the darkness, for a sword is waiting for him. He wanders about for bread, saying, "Where is it?" He knows that a day of darkness is ready at the hand. Trouble and anguish makes him afraid. They overpower him like a king ready to bet for battle, for he stretches out his hand against God and attacks defeatfully against the Almighty, running stubbornly against him with his strong embellished shield, though he had covered his face, his fatness, and made his waist heavy with fat. He dwells in desolate cities, the house which no one inhabits, which are destined, destined to be ruins. He will not be rich, nor will his wealth continue, nor will his possessions overspread the earth. He will not depart from darkness. The flame will dry out of his branches, and by the breath of his mouth he will go away. Let him not trust in futile things, deceiving himself, for futility will be his reward. It will be accomplished before his time, as his branches will not be green. He will shake off his unrippled grape like a vine, and cast off the blossom like an olive tree. For company of hypocrites will be barren, and fire will consume the tent of debris. The conceive trouble, and bringing forth futterly their womb prepares deceits. Chapter 16. Job reproaches his pitiless friends, Pitiless, friends. I have heard many Then Job answered his friends, I have heard many such things. Miserable comforters are you all. Shall words of wind have an end of what provokes you, that you answer? I also could speak as you do. If your souls were in my soul's place, I would heap up words against you and shake my head at you. But I would strengthen you with my mouth, and the comfort of my lips would reveal your grief. Though I speak, my grief is not revealed, and if I remain silent, how I am eased. But now he has sworn to me out. You have made desolate all my company. You have shriveled me up, and in it a witness against me. My leanness rises up against me and bears witness to my face. He tears me in his wrath and hates me. He gnashes at me with his teeth. My adversaries sharpen his gaze at me. They gape at me with their mouth. There strikes me reproachfully on the cheek. They gather together against me. God has delivered me to the ungodly and turned me over to the hand of the wicked. I was at ease, but he has scattered me. He also had taken me by the neck and shaken me to pieces. He has set me up for his target. He has arched, surrounded me to perceive, to pierce me, to pierce my heart, and does not pity. To pierce my heart and not pity. He pours out my gall on the ground, my gall on the ground. He breaks me with wound upon wound. He runs at me like a roar. I have soon sackcloth over my skin, and I lay my head into the dust, and my face is flustered for weeping, and on my eyelids is the shadow of death. Although my violence is in my hands and my prayers are pure, O earth, do not cover my blood, and let my cries have no resting place. Surely even now my witness is in heaven, and my evidence is on high. My friends scorn me. My eyes pour out tears of God to God. Oh, that one might plead for a man with God, as a man plead for his neighbor. For when a few years are finished, I shall go the way of no return. Chapter 17, Job's prayer for relief. My soul is broken. My days are my days are broken, and my days are extinguished. The grave is ready for me. Are not mockers within me? And does not my eye dwell on their provocation? Now put down a pledge for me with yourself. Who is he who will shake hands with me? For you have hidden their hearts from understanding. Therefore you will not exalt them. He who speaks flattery to his friends, even the eye of his children will fall. But he has made me a byword of the people, and I have become one in whose face men spit. My eyes have also grown dim because of sorrow, and all of my members are like shadows, upright. Men are astonished at this, and the innocent stir him up against the hypocrite. Yet the righteous will hold to his way, and he who has cleansed hands will be stronger and stronger. But please come, but again all you, for I shall not find one wise man among you. My days are past, my purpose are broken off, even the thoughts of my heart. Then charge the mighty into the day. The light is near, and they say into the face of darkness, If I wait for the grave of my house, as my house, if I wait for the grave as my house, if I make my bed in the darkness, if I say, corruption, you are Father, and to whom? And to the worm, you are my mother and my sister. Then is my hope. Then Where then is my hope? As for my hope, who can I see? How can I see? They will go down into the gates of Shalom. Shalom. Shall we have rest together into that dust? Chapter 18. Bildad, the wicked are punished. Then Bildad said to Shaddai, answer and said, how long till you have put on to the end of the words, gained understanding, and afterwards we will seek? Why are we content as beasts, and regarded as stupid into your sight? You who tear yourself into his anger. Shall the earth be forsaken for you, or shall the rocks be removed for its peace? The light of the wicked indeed goes out, and the flame of his fire does not shine. The light of darkness in his tent, and his lamp besides him is put out. The steps of his strength are shortened, and his own counsel casted him down for he is cut into the net by his own feet, and he walks into the snare, and net takes him by the heel, and a snare lay a hold of him. A noise is hidden from him on the ground, and a trap for him in the road. Terrors frighten him on every side and drive him into his feet. His strength is starved, and destruction is ready at his side. It devours patches of his skin. The firstborn of his death devours his limbs. He is uprooted for the shelter of his tent, and they pardoned him before the king of terrors. They dwell in the tent who are none of his. Brimstone is scattered on his dwelling. His roots are dreaded out below, dried out below, and his branches withered above. The mercies of him perish for the earth, and he has no name among the renowned. He is driven from the light into the darkness, and chased out of the world. He has neither sons nor posterity among the people, nor any remaining in his dwellings, though those in the west are astonished at his day, as those in the east are frightened. Surely such are the dwelling of the wicked, and this is the place of him who does not know God. Chapter 19. Job trusts in his Redeemer. Then Job answered and said, how long will you torment my soul, and break me into pieces with words? These 10 times you have reproached me. You are not ashamed that you have wronged me. And if indeed I have erred, my ear remains within me. If indeed you exalt yourself against me, and plead my disgrace among me, know then that God has wronged me, and has surrounded me with his net. If I cry out concerning wrong, and I am not heard, I cry out loud, there is no justice. He has finished fenced up my ways so that I cannot pass, and he has set darkness into my path. He has stripped me of his glory and taken the crown from my head. He braked me down on every side, and I am gone. My hope he has uprooted like a tree. He has also kindled his wrath against me, and he has caught me as one of his enemies. He strips his troops come together and build up their road against me. They encamp all around my tent. He has removed my brothers far from me, and my acquaintances are completely estranged from me. My relatives have failed, and my close friends have forgotten me. Those who dwell in my house and my manservants count me as a stranger. I am an alien in their sight. I call my servants, but he gives no answer. I beg him with my mouth. My breath is offensive to my wife, and I am repulsive to my children of my own blood. Even young children despise me. I arise, and they speak against me. All my close friends abhor me, and those whom I love have turned against me. My bones cling to my skin and to my flesh, and I have escaped by the skin of my teeth. Have pity on me. Have pity on me, O you, my friends, for the hand of God has struck me. Why do you persecute me as God does? And are you not satisfied with my flesh? Oh, that my words were written. Oh, that they were inscribed in a book. That they were engraved on the rocks with an iron pen and laid forever. For I know that my Redeemer lives. I know that my Redeemer lives. And he shall stand at last on the earth. And after my skin is destroyed, this I know, that in my flesh I shall see God, whom I shall see for himself, and my eyes shall behold, and not another. How my heart yearns within me. If you should say, how shall we persecute him? Since the root of the matter is found in me, be afraid of the sword for yourselves. For wrath brings the punishment of the sword, that you may know there is a judgment. Chapter 20. Sophar, the shearman of the wicked of men. Then Zophar the Naamathite answered and said, Therefore my anxious thoughts make me answer, because of the turmoil within me, and I have heard the rebuke that reproaches me. And I have heard the reproach I have heard, the reproach that rebukes me, and the spirit of my understanding causes me to answer. Do you not know this? Of old, since man was placed on the earth, that the trumpeting of the wicked short, and to the joy of the hypocrite is but from a moment, though his haughtiness mount up the heavens, and his head's reproach to the clouds, yet his will perishes forever, like his own refuse. Those who have seen him will say, where is he? He will fly away like a dream and not be found. Yes, he will be chained away like a vision of the night. The eyes that saw him will see him no more, nor will his place behold him any more. His children will seek for favor of his poor, and his hand will restore his wealth. His bones are full of his youth, vigor, but it will lie down with him in the dust. Though evil is sweet, it is his mouth, and his head is under his tongue. Though he spares it and does not forsake it, but still heaps into his mouth. Yet this food is his stomach turns sour. It becomes cobra venom within him. He swallows down riches and vomits them up again. God casts them out of his belly. He will suck the poison of the cobra. The vapor tongue will slay him. He will not see the streams, the rivers flowing with honey and cream. He will restore that for which he has labored, and will not swallow it down. For the proceeds of business he will get no enjoyment, for he has oppressed and forsaken the poor. He has violently seized a house which he did not build, because he knows no quickness in his heart. He will not save anything. He desires nothing is left for him to eat. Therefore his well-being will not last. In his self-confidence he will be in distress. Every hand of misery will come against him. Then he is about to fill his stomach. God will cast on him the fury of his wrath, and will rain it on him while he is eating. He will flee from the iron weapon. A bronze bow will pierce him, though it is drowned and comes out of the body. Yes, the glittering point comes out of the goal. It's talking about a gun. Terror comes upon him. Total darkness is reserved for his treasures. An unfaint fire will consume him. It shall go ill with him who is left in his tent. The heavens will reveal his iniquity, and the earth will rise up against him. The increase of his house will depart, and his goods will flow away into the day of his wrath. This is the portion from God for a wicked man, an inheritance appointed to him by God. 21. God discovers on the wicked. Then Job answered and said, listen carefully to my speech, and let this be your consolation. Bear with me, that I may speak, and after I have spoken, keep mocking. As for me, it is my complaint against man, and if it were, why would I not be impatient? Look at me and be astonished. Put your hand over your mouth, even when I remember I am terrified and trembling. Take a hold of my flesh. Why do the wicked live and become old? Yes, because a mighty in power their descendants are established with them in their sight, and their offspring become their eyes. Their horses are safer from fear, neither is the rod of God upon them. Their bulls breeds without failure. Their cow calves without miscarriage. They send forth their little ones like a flock, and their children dance, and they sing to the tambourine and the harps and renew to the sound of the flute. They spend their days in their wealth, and in a moment go down to the grave. Yet they say to God, depart from us, for we do not deserve the kingdom of your ways. Who is almighty that we should serve him, and what profit? And what profit do we have if we pray to him? Indeed, their prosperity is not in their hand. The counsel of the wicked is far from me. How often is the lamp of the wicked put out? How often does their destruction come upon them? The sorrow God distributes in his anger. They are like straw before the wind, and like chaff that a storm carries away. They say, God lays up one's iniquity for his children. Let him recompense him, that he may know it. Let his eyes see the destruction, and let him drink of the wrath of the Almighty, for what does he care about his household after him? Then the numbers of his months is cut in half. Can anyone teach God knowledge? Since he judges those who are high, one dies in his full strength, being woolly at ease and secure. His pails are full of milk, and the marrow of his bones is moist. Where am I at? I'm sorry, I lost my place. The marrows of his bones are moist. Another man dies in the bitterness of his soul, never having eaten with pleasure. They lie down alike in the dust, and swarms cover them. Look, I know your thoughts and the crimes within which you would wrong me, for you say, where is the house of your prince, and where is the tent, the dwelling place of the wicked? Have you not asked those who travel the road? And do you not know their signs? For the wicked are reserved from their days, from doom. They shall be brought out on the days of wrath. Who condemns his way to his face, and who repays him for what he has done? Yet he shall be brought to the grave, and a vial kept over to the tomb. The clouds of the valley should be sweet to him. Everyone shall follow him, as countless having gone before him. How then can you comfort me with empty words, since I have falsehood remains in your answer? Chapter 22. Then Eleazar the Temanite answered and said, Can a man be profitable to God, though he who is wise may be profitable to himself? If it is an pleasure to the Almighty that you are righteous, or is it a gain to him that you make your ways blameless? It is because of your fear of him that he corrects you and enters into your judgment. With you, is not your wickedness great, and your iniquities without ends? For you have taken pledge for your brothers for no reason, and stripped the naked of their clothes. You have not given the weary waters to the drunk, and you have not withheld bread from the hungry. But the mighty man possessed the land, and the honorable man dwells in it. And you have set windows away empty, and the strong and the strength of the fatherless was crushed. Therefore snares are like all around you, and sudden fear troubles you, or darkness, so that you cannot see, and an abundance of water covers you. It is not good in the high of heavens, and to see that the highest stars, now lofty they are. And you say, What does God know? Can he judge, though the deep darkness, the thickened clouds cover him, so that he cannot see, and he walks above the circle of heaven? Will you keep to the old way, which wicked men have toward, who were cut down before their time? Those foundations were weeping away by a flood. They said to God, Depart from us. What can the Almighty do for them? Yet he filled their house with good things, but the counsel of the wicked is far from me. For the righteous see it and said, Glad, and the innocent laugh at them. Surely our adversaries are cut down, and the fire consuming their remnant. Now acquaint yourself within him, and he at peace. Hereby good will come to you. Receive peace, instruction from his mouth, and lay up his words into your heart. If you return to the Almighty, you will be built up. You will remove iniquity from your tents. Then you will lay your gold into the dust, and the gold of oppressor among the stones of the brooks. Yes, the Almighty will be your gold and your pure silver, precious silver. For then you will have your delight in the Almighty, and lift up your face to God. You will make your prayers to Him. He will hear you, and you will pay your vows. You will also declare a thing, and it will be established for you. So light will shine on you always when they cast you down, and you say, exaltations will come. Then He will save the humble person. He will even deliver one who is not innocent. Yes, he will be delivered by the purity of his heart, of your hands. Chapter 23. Job proclaims God's righteousness and judgment. Then Job answered and said, even today my complaint is bitter. My hand is listless because of my groaning. Oh, that I know there I might find, that I might come to His seat. I would present my case before Him, and fill my mouth with garments. I would know that words which I would answer me, and understand that He would say to me, would He contend with me in His great power? No, but He would take note of me. There the upright could reason with Him, and I would be delivered forever. For my judge, look, I go forward, but he is not there, and backwards, but I cannot perverse with him. I cannot perverse him. Then he works. When he works on the left hand, I cannot behold him. When he turns to the right hand, I cannot see him. But he knows the ways that I take. When he has tasted me, I shall come forth as gold. My foot has held fast to his steps. I have kept his ways and not turned aside, and I have not departed from the commandment of his lips. I have treasured the words of his mouth more than my necessary food. But he is but he is unique, and who can make him change? And whatever his soul desires, that he does, for he performs what is appointed to me. And many such things are with him. Therefore I am terrified at him. Present. Therefore I am terrified at his presence. Then I consider this. I am afraid of him. For God made my heart weak, and the Almighty terrifies me, because I was not cut off from the presence of the darkness, and he did not hide my darkness from my face. Job 24. Job complains of violence unto the earth, since sometimes are not hidden from the Almighty. Why does those who know him see not his days? Some remove landmarks. They seize flocks violently and feed of them. They drive away the donkeys of the fatherless. They take the windows of oxes as pledges. They punish the needy off of the road. They all poor off the land are forced to hide. Indeed, like wild donkeys in the desert, they go out to their word, searching for food. The wilderness yields food for them and for their children. They gather their fodder in the field and glean in the vineyards of the wicked. They spread the night naked, without clothing, and have no covering into the cold. They are wet with the showers of the mountains, and huddle around the rocks for wanting the shelter. Some snatch the fatherless from the breasts and take a pledge for the poor. They cause the poor to go naked, without clothes, and they take away the sheaves from the hungry. They press out oil within their walls and tread wine presses, yet suffer thus. They die their drying, groaning in the cities, and the souls of the wounded cry out, yet God does not charge them with wrong. There are those who rebel against the light. They do not know its way, nor abide in its path. The murderer rises within the light. He kills the poor and the needy, and into the night he is like a thief. The eye of the adulterer wait for the twilight, saying, no eye will see me, and he disguise, disguises his face in the dark. They break into the houses which they marked for themselves in the daytime. They do not know the light, for the morning is the same to them as the shadows of death. If someone recognizes them, they are in the terrors of the shadows of death. They should be swift onto their face, onto the waters. Their portion should be cursed into the earth, so that no one would turn into the ways of their vineyards. As drought and heat, as consumed snow and water, so that the grave consumes those have sinned. The womb should forget him. The womb should feed sweetly on him. He should be removed no more, and wickedness should be broken like tree. For he preys on the barren, who does not bear, and does not guard for the widow, and does no good for the widow. But God draws the mighty away from his power and his rising up. But no man is sure for life. He gives them security, and that they rely on it. Yes, his eyes are on their ways. They are exalted for a little while. Then they are gone. They are brought low. They are taken out of the way like all others. They dry out like the heads of grain. Now, if it is not so, who will prove me a liar and make my speech wrong, worth nothing. Chapter 25. Bildad, how can man be righteous? Then Bildad the Shunammite answered and said, dominion and fear belong to him. He makes peace into the high places. Is there any number of his arms upon whom does not his light not rise? How then can a man be righteous before God? Or how can he be pure who is born of a woman? If even the moon does not shine, and the stars are not pure in his sight, how much less man who is a maggot, Maggot, and a son of man who is a maggot, and a son of man who is of a worm. 26. Job's men fretfully and God's majesty. Job, man's fretfully and God's majesty. But Job answered and said, how have you helped him who is without power, who has you saved the arm that has no strength? How have you concealed one who has no wisdom? And how have you declared sound device to many? To whom have you uttered words, and whose spirit come forth you? The dead tremble, those under the waters, and thousands inhabited them. Sheol is naked before him, and destruction has no covering. He has stretched out the north over empty spaces. He has hung the earth on nothing. He binds up the waters of his thick clouds, yet the clouds are not broken under it. He covers the faces of his throne and spreads his clouds over it. His dews a critical Horizon, Horizon, on the faces of the waters. At the boundaries of light and darkness, the pillars of heaven tremble and are astonished at his rebuke. He stirs up the sea with his power, and by his understanding he is breaking up the storm. By spirit he adorned the heavens. His hand pierced the fleeing serpent. Indeed, these are the mere edges of his way. And how small a whisper we hear of him. But the thunder of his power, who can understand? 27. I'm going to make this my last chapter for right now. Job maintains his integrity. Moreover, Job continued his discourage and said, as God lives, who has taken away justice into the Almighty, who has made my soul bitter, as long as my breath is in me, and the breath of God is my nostrils. My lips will not speak wickedness, nor my tongue utter deceit. Far be it for me that I should say, you are right. Till I die, I will not put away my integrity for me. My righteousness I hold fast and will not let it go. My heart shall not reproach me as long as I live. May my enemies be like the wicked, and he who rises up against me like the righteous. For what is the poor? For what is the hope of the hypocrite, though he may gain much? If God takes away his life, will God hear his cry? Then trouble comes upon him. Will he delight himself into the Almighty? Will he always call on God? I will teach you about the hand of God, what is with the Almighty, and I will not counsel. Surely all of you have seen it. Why then do you behave within complete nonsense? This is the portion of the wicked man with God, and the inheritance of the oppressed received from the Almighty. It has children. If his children are multiplied, if it is for the sword, and his offspring shall not be satisfied with bread. Those who survive him shall be burned to death, and their widows shall not weep, though he heaps up silver like dust, and piles up clothes like the clay. He may pile it up, but the just will wear it, and the innocent will divide the silver. He builds his house like a moth, like a booth which a watchman makes. The rich man will lie down, but not be gathered up. He opens his eyes, and he is no more. Terror overtakes him like a flood. A temptress steals him away in the night. The east winds carries him away, and he is gone. It sweeps him out of his place. It curls against him and does not spare. He flees desperately for its power. Man shall clap their hands at him and shall hiss him out of his place. To be continued. We'll start off at 28 next time. I was reading Job 1 through 28, New King James Version, and I hope you enjoyed that. Peace be with you, and have a good night.